Okay, so I just checked, and last month I spent $18,153.77 on my business, which sounds like a lot. But the truth is, as your business scales, your expenses generally do too. I feel like we see a lot of content creators and influencers talking about the revenue scaling part, but not as many people address how much your expenses and how much money you're spending every month scales too. So I thought it'd be interesting to pull back the curtain a little bit and take you through a day in my life of spending money on my business while I share with you a breakdown of exactly how much I spent last month to make this whole content creator business happen. And even though I'm nervous to do this at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you my entire profit and loss statement for last month. So you will see exactly how much money I spent and how much money I made, and therefore what my profit was as a content creator last month. Okay, so while I work up the bravery to do that, let's jump into my day. So the first thing on my to-do list for today is actually to meet with Shelby from the Creatorly team, which also brings me to my first monthly expense that I need to tell you about, which is my team. This is by far my biggest expense as a business owner, which you can very obviously tell from this handy pie chart I made. My total spend on staffing for the month of March was $17,038.24. Just about a year or two, honestly, that number would have been baffling and probably terrifying to me. But my business has really grown, and the truth is, like, as your business scales, as you offer more stuff, especially in like a client facing kind of business, your expenses are gonna grow. Speaking of client stuff, I feel like I should be clear about this. So pretty much all of this expense, with one exception, is to pay for the work that is done for Creatorly clients. So if you didn't know, I have a small social media marketing agency, content creation agency. We work with influencers, entrepreneurs, small business owners, that type of thing, to create their content across YouTube, podcasts, TikTok, Instagram. And the vast majority of that spending is basically paying for people hourly to do those client projects. The one exception to that actually is Shelby. So rather than working on like individual client projects, she kind of oversees the operation of the agency, does a lot of the early client communication, the invoicing, all of that stuff. And she also helps me with projects for my personal brand. For example, she edits the Creator Club podcast. The point is, these expenses are almost completely tied to the amount of client work that we have, with the exception of Shelby's work. For me, that always felt like the lowest risk way to bring on team members is bringing on people to directly help me with activities that were already income generating. So client work, basically. When I had too many client projects for me to take on while doing this YouTube channel, I hired people to help me. And it's just grown really organically since then. I know people love to give advice in the entrepreneurship world to take bigger risks and hire before you're ready. And I do feel like for a lot of these things, you have to do it before you feel ready, because you probably never will. Like, it was really scary when I hired my first contractor. But at the same time, in general, I think I'm actually quite a risk-averse entrepreneur, which is why it's always really been important to me that the amount that I'm paying people is like directly tied to the revenue generating activities. And really, Shelby has been the first person who is not exactly like that, because I just needed the help with operations and some of this admin stuff. So I think, yes, a lot of this stuff is scary and you do need to take risks and kind of take the jump, but it is also important to remember why it is scary, and that it's, you know, there's other people on the line, and when you hire somebody, you know, they're depending on you, and I think it's important to take that seriously. Okay, I think I'm ready for the day, so let's go jump on this call with Shelby. Okay, just kidding. Before my meeting with Shelby, I actually need to post a reel, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I really hope for the duration of this video, the lighting is not too insufferable, but if you've been watching my previous videos, you know, it's been a struggle around here lately. But I am currently shooting on a new lens that I'm borrowing from Sony at the moment to test out. It's the 11mm f1.8, which is really nice and wide, so I'm loving that. I actually also just recently picked up this new microphone, which is the Sony ECM G1, and hopefully the audio quality sounds good. But yeah, so I'm actually vlogging on my ZVE10 today. So let me know what you think of how it looks in the comments, and yeah, hopefully the lighting's not too bad. Okay, yeah, so let's open up Instagram. Honestly, my last reel that I posted, I'm kind of shook how well it's performed. I posted it like 2 days ago. On Monday, I guess, and it's already got 260,000 views. Girl, what? It's kind of hard to follow up, but I have this tutorial on how to do a zoom jump cut, so let's get that posted to the point where you would like to zoom in. Good morning. Hello. How are you? How are things? Yeah. All right, before I move on to my next to-do list item for the day, we're gonna tackle a few of the boring expenses, and I'm gonna lump them together just so we can get through them quickly. Basically, we're looking at software subscriptions, regular recurring fees, my phone bill. All of that adds up to, at least last month, $858.53. To break that down a little bit more precisely, the software subscriptions part was $675.10. So that includes everything from Adobe Suite, Canva, Dubsado, Flowdesk, Genius Link, my Google business products, so like Google Drive and my custom email domain and stuff like that. Squarespace, Meta Verified, YouTube Premium, and ManyChat. My phone bill, which my business pays, is about $60 a month. And then last month, between bank charges and also PayPal fees, was $12.98. I know that almost $700 in software subscriptions per month probably sounds a little bit insane, and I get that, because there was definitely a time that I probably would have fainted if you suggested that that's how much I should spend on apps and stuff. But as my business has grown and the complexity has increased, all of these things play a really important role. And I think there was a time where I really tried to do everything the free or cheap way, just because on principle, I felt I should be able to have an email list for free. Why would I pay for an email list software and stuff like that? And there was ways to do it for free or for cheap, but in almost every circumstance when I was doing something for free or cheap, it ended up costing me time, extra headache, extra glitches that I had to deal with, which was fine for that stage in my business when I was just getting started and all I had was time. But you'll find as things grow with your creator business, eventually it'll be worth it to you to pay for a little bit of convenience, pay for things to just work smoothly on their own. Let's take ManyChat, for example. That's the system that I use to send automated messages in Instagram. So if you ever seen me say comment gear and I'll send you my gear guide, ManyChat will automatically send you a DM with the link to my gear guide. There was a time where I probably would have thought, not a big deal, I'll just manually message every single person who comments gear. And you know what, maybe back in the day when I just had 5 or 10 comments on a post, then that would have been a good use of my time rather than paying for the monthly subscription. But I'm definitely at a point where the subscription is very well worth it, because it helps me generate leads for my email list, which then turn into potential either clients for Creatorly or customers of my digital products, etc. So when it comes to the actual fixed expenses of my creator business, not necessarily the agency, which obviously, like I mentioned, that's mostly what the team costs are for, I would say $800 to $1,000 a month is probably the realistic ballpark of if you were just going to be a content creator of my sort of size and scale. Those are the set costs that don't involve paying people to help you with stuff. Maybe that's a lot, maybe it's a little. You can let me know in the comments what you think, but that is how much I'm paying right now for software subscriptions and my phone bill and bank fees. Everything's alright. nobody tell Sony about this. I swear I have not shot with Canon in years, but my beloved National Parks tote bag is still in the van in Arizona. So this is what I'm packing my laptop into for today's cafe outing. Fun fact, I actually got this bag at VidCon in 2017. Now for a few hours, which is something that I like to do really quite frequently, like sometimes like every day. Kind of depends. When we're traveling in the van, I really don't go out for coffee that much, but when we're here at home, I really like to get out and just get some fresh air. First of all, walking somewhere is really nice, and then just get a change of scenery, especially right now with the construction going on and it being so dark in our unit. It's just kind of nice to see what little sunshine there is to see. And by the way, I checked my totals for March and I spent $55.28 on coffees last month. And I'm about to go spend another probably 10 now. Oh, thanks so much. Amazing, thank you. That was a really nice, much needed break from staring out the window at a tarp, but I'm gonna head back now because I've got stuff that I need to do at home. I've kind of finished my like office work for the day and now I need to do some studio work, so unfortunately that does need to happen in my apartment. So it's time to go set up some lights. Okay, but while we're walking home, I want to say a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. We know them, we love them. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with thousands of classes for creative and curious people like you and me. The great thing is, if you don't know where to start, Skillshare can help you with their learning paths. Learning paths are essentially curated series of courses that are meant to build on one another to help you improve a specific skill. I'm personally really excited about this learning path called Supercharge Your Productivity with Notion. If you know me, then you'll know that I am a massive Notion girly, but I'm always looking for ways to increase my productivity and efficiency with Notion. And this learning path has a series of courses that build on one another to help you achieve Notion mastery. Whatever new skill you want to learn, Skillshare has you covered, and you can even do it for free. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will get 1 free month of Skillshare, and I highly recommend you check out that Notion learning path with your free month. So go ahead and click the link in the description, and thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. All right, what was not pictured there is the fact that I have some packages. We were in the middle of the ad read, so I didn't want to interrupt. Also not pictured, it took me like 5 minutes to get in my front door. Like, I feel like there is something wrong with my key, and I probably need to get a new one made, because that was a pain in the butt. Why does it always feel like Christmas even if you ordered it for yourself? Okay, this, not a business expense, so not necessarily relevant to today's video, but I needed new sheets. But this, definitely a business expense. I ordered a little Peak Design wrist strap because, like I think I mentioned earlier in this video, today I'm vlogging with the ZV-E10 and the 11mm lens, and I'm planning to take this whole setup to New York with me next week. I wanted like a little strap so that I could carry around this camera without worrying that I'm gonna drop it all the time. And I'll be honest, Peak Design stuff, it's pricey, but like I really like it. Like, I already have a Peak Design camera strap and I wanted like a little wrist strap so I didn't have to always have it around my whole body. This is the camera that I've been shooting with. Here's what it looks like. We've got the ECM G1 microphone, the 11mm f1.8 lens, and the ZV-E10 body. And it's on a tripod that it most definitely shouldn't be on, but I'm risking it because it's just so easy to move this one around. Okay, back on track. So as I mentioned, office stuff done for the day, studio stuff starts now. What I mean by that is, I am back into recording mode for my podcast, which of course is a joy when this is happening outside of your window. There's definitely water dripping down. There's a little bit of debris falling here and there, but there's not too much metal clanging, and I don't hear that much yelling from the construction workers. So I'm gonna hold out hope that it's gonna work out and that we can record today. Speaking of yelling, I don't know if you could hear that. Yeah, there's definitely commotion outside, but it's gonna take me a hot minute to get all this set up. So fingers crossed, it quiets down so that I can record. But speaking of podcast setups, this kind of brings me to my next major line item in terms of expenses, which is camera gear. You can see that in March, my total spend on camera gear was $170.45. That specifically was on this new light panel that I bought because of my current lighting situation here. In terms of regular spending on stuff like camera gear, it's honestly quite sporadic because I'm not buying new gear all of the time. In fact, I'm actually really quite frugal when it comes to buying new gear. I kind of still think about it the same way that I did back when I was making like $20K a year off my business rather than like my current income. So I do kind of think that I like fret over these purchases a little bit more than I would need to, but I really ask myself, like, do I need this? Is this gonna improve my workflow? Is this gonna improve the final product of my video enough to make it worth the spend? Just to give you a bit of insight into how I think about these things, the Sony ZV-1 Mark II came out last summer, like I want to say in August, and they actually like sent me one to borrow it. I had to return it, but I like made some reels about it. And ever since then I've been like, oh, I really want that. Like I have the ZV-1 Mark I and it's good. Like obviously it does the job. I'm filming with it right now, but the Mark II would be really nice. It's a slightly wider lens. But I've been thinking about this for like more than half a year. Would my business be able to afford this new camera? Absolutely, I could. But I'm like, is it worth it? I really need to decide. So I haven't bought it. Same goes with the Sony a6700. I've been thinking about getting that for several months too. In general, I am like, I really need to know it's gonna be a good investment to get something, especially when it's like a big spend like a camera. This light panel that I bought last month though, it was definitely a necessity because I, need to be able to film stuff in here and have it not look really bad. So, moral of the story is I really think through gear purchases before I make them, not only because of the financial spend, but also because I'm like, do I really need this physical item? I live in a very small space. If I'm bringing something into my house, it needs to really be worth it. And I also want to make sure that it's worth like the environmental impact of the purchase as well. So I really do fret about this kind of thing. But yeah, so this fluctuates every month, but last month it was $170. Well, this is most definitely ideal conditions for recording a podcast. I love it. I love living in a condo. It's the best. The thing that I find amusing about this whole thing, with there being men outside my window doing whatever business they are up to, is that I wonder what they must think of me. Because they can definitely see in here. And they see my like massive lights set up and all my cameras and stuff like that. I wonder if they think I'm like an OnlyFans streamer. I was hoping to batch record like 3 episodes today. I think I'm gonna be lucky if I get 1 in, which is always a little unfortunate because as you can see, it's a bit of an undertaking to set up my studio. Look, I'll be honest with you guys. In general, I really try not to complain because I feel like I have honestly one of the best jobs in the world, one of the most privileged jobs in the world. And I really, like, every single day I'm grateful that I get to record silly little videos in my house and I get paid to do that. But this has been hard. I'll be real with you about that. This has been one of the bigger challenges in my working from home as a content creator career. Because I've spent probably about 30 minutes getting this set up and I'm not sure that I'm gonna record a single podcast today. Looks like they're cleaning the windows at least. I don't know whether to be optimistic about that. Maybe they're finishing up their work. Like if I saw them actually taking the scaffolding down and stuff, like I would just about cry. Okay, outfit number 2 for episode number 2. I actually was able to get through that and I just listened to it on the laptop here and it sounds all right. So, gotta get this back in the camera and we're gonna try to get 2 episodes done while all of this is set up. It really does seem to help with the ZVE10 to leave the little battery door open when you're filming because my battery didn't overheat at all, which it often does when I'm shooting in 4K for that amount of time. But yeah, that's 2 episodes down. I hope they were good. I'm always, when I'm in the midst of recording something, I always just feel like, oh, I hope that I'm providing enough value. I hope that I'm making sense, especially because I'm taking a slightly different approach with the podcast this time around. I just hope that it's working. I hope that it's coming across well. You know what? I need some cleanup music. Set is put away and I got so focused on recording and the fact that it was so noisy outside that I almost forgot to talk to you about the last expense that we have to go over, which is travel. In March, I spent $196.76 on travel. If you follow any of my content, then you'll probably know that I travel quite often and some of it is justifiable as a business expense, but not all of that. And that's thankfully what I have an accountant for, so she helps me figure that all out. But the point is, in March, in terms of business travel expenses, it's like $196. All right, so at the end of the day, I promised you I would go over the total revenue versus the total expenses and therefore profit that we saw in my business in March. As we've been going over all day, the total expenses were $18,209.36. And if you subtract that from my total revenue from March, which was, drumroll please, $81,727.14, AKA my best revenue month ever in the history of my business. Like, I'm kind of shook by that. I look at this number and I don't even believe it. So for March, that leaves me with a profit of $63,517.78 Canadian. All of this has been in Canadian dollars, which is pretty insane, to be honest. That is, I think, my most profitable month ever on record. We can compare that to January of this year, which was just over 40,000, and February, which was 35 for context. All right. I hope this video has been interesting for you. I think that's enough money vulnerability for one day. Wow, I feel like I've just exposed myself. But I think being transparent is really important and I think it's super helpful for people who are also wanting to be content creators to know what this business looks like behind the scenes. And I hope you got a good look at that today, not only behind the scenes financially, but also behind the scenes of a day in my life of spending, working, trying to work, but struggling. And if you made it to this point in the video, I really appreciate you and thank you for watching even my vlog style videos, which I love to make, but don't tend to get as much love from the algorithm. If watching this little vloggy vlog has inspired you to vlog yourself, then you should check out this recent video that I made talking about how I got over my social anxiety of vlogging in public, even though I'll be honest, I had some awkward moments today of people seeing me film myself, but we move forward nonetheless, and I teach you how to do that in this video. So go watch that next. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!